Shorty Robbins is a historian and advocate for tiny houses who built her own tiny Victorian-style house. It serves as a window to the past and is a wonderful example of living history from the mid to late 1800s. Shorty named the house Nawaka after the girls' camp she attended in her childhood, and although she initially used it for reconstructing events, she soon realized it felt more like a tiny home than a storage space for her reenactments. Thus, she sold her old house and permanently moved into Nawaka. The first thing Shorty did herself was to create a source of fresh water in the form of a 19th century pitcher pump, which operates independently of the city water supply. It connects to a 40-gallon fresh water tank located between the axles in the floor of the tiny house. The pump is used for making coffee, cooking, and other things. The tiny house's porch is supported by 3 light, milk-colored wooden columns, and the frame of the house is hidden behind a wooden fence with a woven pattern. Next to it stands a tin bucket for water from the pump and a wooden barrel on the porch. The lattice and roof of the porch were covered with siding matching the exterior appearance of the house, and a red front door with a door knocker leads inside Shorty's house. This autonomous tiny house built on an aluminum trailer is truly lightweight. After its construction, the house was surrounded by a cypress fence and painted blue. Over time, the cypress fencing has aged and acquired an antiquated look. It was thin, light, and just perfect for the job. The front windows of the tiny house are white and vintage. One of them was taken from a church in Tallahassee, and the other matched perfectly, fitting the era. All other windows of the tiny house were made from reclaimed cypress wood and also painted white, crafted by an antique carpenter specializing in restoration. The entrance staircase of the tiny house has a folding mechanism, easily hidden. Neighbors are amazed to learn that it's a tiny house on wheels. The tiny house features a Victorian style both outside and inside, with modern conveniences cleverly hidden, balancing historical elegance with modern comfort. The walls are decorated with antique clocks and various posters from that time. The windows are draped with white lace, and a patterned gray-beige carpet on the floor completes the interior. Above the entrance door, there are beams that serve as shelves for various wooden woven baskets and bags. Behind the door, next to a mirror and a hat hook, the light switches are concealed. The house has 2 rows of garden lanterns with small solar indicators on the front window, ensuring one doesn't return to a dark home thanks to solar panels. There's also an electric generator and lanterns that provide not only beautiful light, but also warmth. The lanterns were made for Shorty by a blacksmith tinsmith from North Carolina a couple of years ago as a housewarming gift. To safely lower the hanging lanterns, one can use a hook on the wall and a rope. The same rope can be used to adjust the height of the lanterns. In the corner near the entrance door stands a light chair and wooden shelves. According to Shorty, this is where she designed the future layout of her tiny house. The tiny house is located in Florida, and an essential feature of all homes here is air conditioning. Shorty's tiny house is no exception. Above the window near the entrance door, there is a mini split system, well concealed by a window curtain, and its almost silent operation doesn't attract attention. Under the floor, there is a water reservoir and a feeding pump, and right behind it, a storage space for seasonal items, decorations, and larger tools. The painting in the central room of the tiny house depicts Shorty and her granddaughter Aurora, but the most interesting thing is that the painting hides a TV, allowing the house's design to remain untouched by technology. There's no cable in the tiny house, but one can use Netflix or similar services, or an antenna. Also in this room is a sewing machine from 1887, but it has no thread because every child who visits Shorty tries to operate it and jams it. In the tiny house, a silent solar generator is hidden in an old copper wood box. It allows for the operation of all digital devices or LED lights without using electricity. If one connects the TV, air conditioner, or a non-LED lamp, it will make some noise, but Shorty doesn't use them often. Also, Nearby stands a small antique wood stove. Next to the copper box is a hole in the floor that leads to a socket. Robbins has tried her best to replicate the appearance and functionality of a Victorian home in her tiny house. She even has hair tongs that need to be heated on coals before use, as well as a bed warmer and a coal iron, both working on the same principle. There's also a functional sewing machine from 1887 on a folding flap. The mini kitchen of the tiny house has an antique teapot and coffee pot in one, and a small bathroom is hidden behind a curtain. The kitchen is quite small, but the work surface is equipped with storage drawers. Even the water faucet resembles a Victorian-era item. At that time, there was a risk of fire, so the kitchen was always in a separate building or simply by an open fire outside. Shorty sets up an outdoor kitchen if she stays in one place for a long time, but the tiny house also has everything necessary for cooking and washing dishes. Hidden behind a wooden bread bowl is a small mini kitchen with a toaster, stove, and coffee maker. Shorty finds all this sufficient as she is retired, and otherwise she eats out. The cabinet in the tiny house is made from an old family dresser that was turned on its side and fitted with mechanisms for opening the door. Next to it is a ladder leading to the attic. Each step of this ladder is a pull-out drawer. One of the drawers, which has storage space, actually conceals a portable washing machine. In Shorty Robbins' tiny house, everything is arranged and made just as it was customary at that time. Climbing the two-step ladder, one can access the attic through an opening in the kitchen. The attic has several pull-out drawers for items, a small suitcase with toys now belonging to Shorty's granddaughter, a small bed, and a window. In a true Victorian parlor, there was always a piano, a symbol of status, but in a practical Victorian parlor, especially in such a tiny house, the piano serves a dual purpose. With just 3 simple movements, the piano unfolds into a single bed, leaving space for the dog, which serves as a bed warmer. Shorty's mother sewed a quilted cover from various shades of blue fabrics gifted by friends, as she already had a border for the pattern. When Shorty looks at the cover, she knows whose dresses were used to make it, which is a delight to the eye. This tiny house is a living museum of the Victorian era. It reflects the style and design of that time. A meticulously detailed reconstruction and recreation of that period makes this tiny house a true window to the past. Every item in it, every detail, is a piece of history that Shorty lovingly preserves and showcases,